When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, and it is Thursday, and we get to talk about soccer together. And Jared told me
are you going to wear black when I'm wearing black?
Republican hair. You have Republican hair?
Yeah, he gave me the gates. I don't like it.
What? Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you, I saw that guy in person. Biggest head on a human I've ever seen in my life. Massive head
up here.
Just like a dome. Yes, that's the part. That's the head of Matt Gates that I saw was the dome,
Clarifying.
and he was like a lollipop walking around the
Good.
airport.
You know who likes the lollipops, right?
Oh, okay. Well, that's gonna get us into uncomfortable situations already. We're just here on a Thursday.
Totally unrelated question.
Just doing those things. All right, on this episode of the Best Soccer Show, we are not that far away from a Nations League Finals roster dropping for one Mauricio Pochettino. First match of the potential run to the final. There is a third-place game, so I guess they'll play two games regardless of what happens against Panama. But that is Panama on March 20th. So that is 14 days from today. Jared, 2 weeks from today.
Oh,
the United States will play
I'll be
Panama.
on spring break. Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Oh wait, will I? No,
you're
it's
gonna-
2 days before I leave.
You know what you could do if you were really a soccer fan, if you were a true U.S. men's national team fan for your spring break, with the United States facing off against Panama.
Talk to me.
You could go to Panama City Beach, Florida. Is what you could do.
Ooh, that is an MTV spring break destination. Was that not where they did it back in the day?
It used to be, but I think
spring break still a thing? You don't hear about it like you used to. I
think Florida's in this, and I know we got Florida people who are listeners to our show who follow. Shout out to Freddie Alarcon. I think Florida's in a full-on we don't want spring break anymore period of their existence, and they've like set up the laws, and now you're not allowed on the beach. I think it's like, man, it is
too much
nuts.
Cisco and Sugar Ray from what I remember.
I remember Dr. Dre and Ed Lover of Yo and TV Raps or whatever that show was that they did, doing some, I guess we could call them swimsuit contests that were, let's say they were very close to the line. And let's say, I didn't realize
think there's a lot of things about spring break in the era we grew up in that was extremely close to the line.
No. I'm talking about on TV, though. I'm specifically talking about on MTV.
Like a booty judging contest and stuff.
And this was, there were girls in this contest. They were wearing the V swimsuit. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jared?
Yeah, it's like the Borat.
Yeah, the Borat, exactly. And I was too naive at the time. I did not appreciate that these women were more than likely professionals, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, you thought you had a chance.
No, I just didn't realize. I was like, oh, it's spring break. Kids from all over the country.
Professional models, you mean?
Yeah, sure. Let's call them models. Or you could call them. You could. What's the
copper tone girls?
What was the word for a while? Like they weren't.
Influencer?
Oh yeah, it's not stripper. It's exotic dancer.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think they had
that's
to go far.
That's when you do the lambada.
Yeah,
it's exotic dancer.
The exotic dancing. Yes, it's whatever they do in Argentina. What's that thing called?
The flamenco.
No, flamenco's in Spain. I've seen that one. That's not a sexual.
Oh,
dance,
the paso doble.
No. What was it? They made a bunch of these movies in like the 90s that were like Skinamax style movies about some special.
You
dance.
know better than me.
It was after they branched Dirty Dancing off into like a series of terrible sequels.
Yeah, Havana Nights.
Exactly. It was like Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights. No, okay. So we got a roster to work through here on the Best Soccer Show. We got to pick 23 players. Now, I know you've been scanning the 60-man preliminary roster that they put out for this. But no, here's the thing.
Ridiculous, by the way.
60 people, 60 guys.
It's just why does it exist?
It's a good question.
Like who wants to see the invite list for the party you didn't eventually get invited to?
Right. Like who wants to see, like, it's like, I've never gone out for a play. I've never auditioned for a part. I have been picked for teams in the past. That has happened. So very much like this soccer situation. But you see those movies where they like have the big list on the board. Like you got to go and scan for your name.
Draft day or something like that. Yeah.
You
mean like fame or something like that.
Yes, I mean like there's a play, the school or the whoever's putting on the play, and they put up the thing, and it's like, yes, I got whatever role the person got.
Mercutio.
Like if you put up a 60-person roster or 60-person list, and then you're like, oh no, actually that's going to be cut more than in half, down to 23.
Yeah, I don't see why it's necessary. It's weird. But listen, it gives us something to kind of work off of. It gives you an idea of what Pochettino's the first chance to get inside the mind of Pochettino a little bit. I mean, hell, he could be throwing darts right here. There's a couple guys that potentially may be available by late March that aren't on this, that have been injury concerns for the last few months. Do we even consider them? They're not on the 60-man, but there's a couple of guys coming back from injury this weekend with 3 weeks until the game. There's a possibility. Is that too quick?
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's talk about them. Like, we should absolutely consider which players you're talking about, because at least one of them, I think, if there was any if he was like 65, 70% fit, I think he would be in the team. Like, I think if you were that close to him being fully fit, he would be in the team. There's another name that's coming back to full fitness or getting back into training where I don't know if that's the case, even though we were so hyped for that player at one point, if you can pick up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
So, do we want to start? Where do we want to start here? Want to start just with my...
Yeah, so just for the listeners at home, we've got Jason's big board up, his spreadsheet here, and we're going to fill this out. And so just as a placeholder, can you put like maybe down that 20 line down there? How many players we think we're going to want at each spot? It's going to change a little bit as we go. Goalkeepers is going to be a 3, right?
Yes,
maybe light 19
is definitely a 3. Okay.
Fullbacks.
This is real. This is where they're going. Let's skip.
Let's do center backs first. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. How many center backs?
5.
4? You sure about that?
Let's start with 4 because there's might be a couple of guys at fullback and maybe can do center back as well. So
okay. Midfielders. How many midfielders?
Midfielders, let's say 6. Is that a good number?
I think you might end up with 7 in that spot.
Okay, if you do 7, you're going to be a little hampered, I think, at another level. That's 14. That's only 9 players left for the other 2 categories.
Okay, but I think, 5 forwards?
5?
Sound right? Okay.
Then we're doing 4 fullbacks then.
Okay.
This is just a starting point. It's just to give us like a rough thing.
This is why I'm not sure. I don't think there are 4 fullbacks that Mauricio Pochettino likes in this pool. And again, one of the players talking about coming back from injury would be in that group if healthy.
Yeah, let's not forget Miles Robinson played right back in one of these games last window.
Tim Ream can play left back. Let's not forget that either.
So, okay, you want to put 3? You want to bump center backs up to 5?
I think that's probably correct. I think that's probably the right call. And it might even be, well, let's get into it. Okay, so you want to start with with goalkeepers rather? Is that the easiest place to go?
I think so. I think this is going to be 2 chalks and then a choice, right? I think the chalks are Matt Turner.
Yep.
And I think the other chalk is, for me, Patrick Schulte is the other chalk.
Yeah, I've read at least a few people not suggest he's not chalk exactly, but I think
in this pool, I don't see who. If there's 2 chalk, is Zach Steffen chalk? Not for me.
No. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. Now I think you're in a point where you're picking between Zach Steffen, Ethan Horvath, and Diego Cochin.
Yeah.
Now, Cochin is still not a senior level player. Like that's such a leap for me to go, hey, call him in for important games. No, it's a third goalkeeper. Like, what does it matter? If you just want him to get the experience and be in the team, then maybe you take a coach in over a Zach Steffen, because Zach Steffen is wrung out. Like that rag is dry. Like, I don't think you're squeezing anything out of that.
I watched my team put 6 by him in the playoffs, over 2 games. I think it was 7 goals over 2 games, but I don't know. Not impressed. For me, I would take Ethan Horvath. He's actually playing and starting right now.
He is, and I think not that long ago, I think FA Cup match, getting some love for his performance in a loss. So there's at least reason to think he's got some momentum behind him. So I'm with you.
I think Patrick Schulte is the most informed keeper that we have to choose from here.
Yeah, but he's not going to start. We're pretty sure about
I know,
that,
but
aren't we?
for me, I think he may be the best goalkeeper in the pool right now.
Okay,
but
that says more about the pool than it does about any
he's
of
also
these.
coming up off season, so there's that.
Okay. Yes, right. He's fairly cold at this
Not
point.
not too much to worry about with a goalkeeper as compared to a field player, though.
That's true. That's true. Okay, I got no issues with these three. So let's go to fullbacks. And right now, again, we got three. We can come back to this if you think we need more fullbacks.
No, yeah, there's one chalk for sure.
Okay, give me the chalk.
Anthony Robinson's chalk.
I'm gonna put his name in. His name is Jedi. I'm gonna call him Jedi. His mama named him Jedi. Well, that's not true. His mama.
And I think Joe Scally is unfortunate chalk.
You think Joe Scally is unfortunate chalk?
Well, it's just not sexy chalk. It's sidewalk chalk.
Well, okay, Joe Scally is again a player who I think there's a couple of these guys in our pool, and there has been historically guys like this, where they are usually they look better with their club team than they do with the national team. Right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah,
do you think that
that's
applies?
Fair. Yeah,
to Joe
he's
Scally?
always impressed more at Mönchengladbach than he has at the national team level, and part of that is because he is a defensive right back. It's just not what you get with Jedi Robinson on the other side. It's not what you get with Serginho Dest when he's available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's and for that reason, I have a choice for the other back, and I don't think this is the next best fullback, but I think it's the one that makes sense if you're only taking three, and that's Marlon Fossey.
Wow,
because I think it's a change of pace right-sided player from what Joe Scally brings. I think DJ Jazzy Jones was fantastic over Camp Cupcake, and he may be one of the better choices here. Right. But I don't know that he's a left-sided fullback, and I just don't see Anthony Robinson needing a spell other than with there's injury. You're more likely going to want to change that right back position if you're behind in the game and to get a different look, and you're going to want like a Marlon Fossey out there that can push the ball forward.
Look, I'm okay with putting Marlon Fossey on this list. I think that's a reasonable guess.
Same thing with Max Arfstead. I think he looked good in Camp Cupcake, but left-sided player. I don't think you bring a left-sided fullback if you're only bringing three.
Right. Well, there's also There's nobody here in this group that you're like, oh, I have to have this player, right? Like, is there anybody outside of Jedi Robinson that you're like, oh, I have to have this guy in my team?
That's a fullback position. Without Serginho Dest, there's no one else there.
Yeah, okay. Apparently, the visuals are not working with this, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. My apologies to everybody who was trying to – I was trying to share screens, and apparently that's not working. But we'll move forward. All right.
It still helped me, so let's put it up.
Oh, you want to see it? Okay. Well,
it helps me.
It looks like a big blank thing on our video.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay. Never mind then.
That's what it is. It's they said it's a 3D painting.
Then I'll just use the board in my mind.
Okay, you use the board in your mind, and I will fill you in as on regular intervals so you know what's going on here. So right now, we have 6 players out of 23. 3 goalkeepers and 3 fullbacks.
Yep.
I don't think we're willing to go further on fullbacks. Do you?
No, I think it's a crapshoot after this. Do you feel any different about what my Marlon Fossey? Would you go with DJ Jazzy Jones or Tolkien, or like, is there a name out there that you feel that I'm missing when I say that?
No, I don't think there's to me. There's no obvious. I like some of those players, but not as
coin flip for whatever Pochettino feels like he wants. You know, I don't think it's a big deal either way, whatever he chooses.
Right. And again, I think there are center backs who are flexible, right? If necessary. It's not ideal, but if you don't have anybody you trust outside of those 3 players we just mentioned, then that's it, right? You just stick with those guys, and then you say, okay, if we need somebody to step out right, it's Miles Robinson. We need somebody to step out left, it's Tim Ream. Is that a reasonable way to look at that?
I think so. I think so. And for that reason, I think there's 2 chalk center backs.
Okay. So who are your chalk center backs then?
Miles Robinson and Tim Ream. I mean, I don't know that Tim Ream is still, I think he is still chalk at a center back position. I mean, he is coming in off season. He's older. It might take him a while to get
he's a left back.
Grounded back
he's
in.
a left back now. He's not even a center back in Charlotte.
I think for the national team, he's a center back.
Well, he's probably first and foremost a center back for the national team, but I do think that's interesting. But he has the duct tape quality of being able to step out left, and in a 3-man back line, you're going to want Tim Ream as your left-sided
defender if they go to a 3-5-2, which they have done at times to push Anthony Robinson further up into the midfield.
By the way, I would like to acknowledge this comment from Burnman23. I can see it. It's a 3D painting. I believe that's a Mallrats reference. If it is a Mallrats reference, bravo, sir.
It's a schooner.
Well done. It might be a schooner. Is it a sailboat? Or is it a schooner?
It's a schooner.
Yeah, it's a schooner. It's a sailboat. All right, so you've got Miles Robinson and Tim Ream as locks because of their versatility.
The versatility, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm writing them in right now. I did Tim Ream, and I got.
And you call a foul if you think I'm making a foul here somewhere.
I call a foul. I think probably those two guys are in this team, and probably for the reason that you're mentioning.
And for me, I think Chris Richards gets the nod. That's probably the best true full center back we have right now. Not always consistent at his club team, but I still think he's probably the best pure center back that's available on this list. And then for me, if I'm taking one more, this is a little bit
well, we got two spots open because we said 5. We said 5.
In that case, I'm going to take Walker Zimmerman.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
over Cameron Carter-Vickers.
You know I don't like Cameron Carter-Vickers. I like Austin Trusty. That's my 5th.
I'm sorry. We said the name incorrect. Do you want
Cameron
Carter-Vickers. If anybody, I put the board back up. I'm not.
Oh, I take it back. I apologize. I missed one. Instead of Zimmerman, I would take Mark McKenzie. I apologize.
Mark McKenzie. Okay.
Yeah. He looked great during the last round of national team in the leagues. He was maybe the best center back we had last year.
I think you're on an island with this one, right?
I don't think so. You're telling me who's performed better at center back than him over the first leg of the Nations League?
No, I understand. But that's the thing. It's current. It's an in the moment thing, right? I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just okay. It's fine. He's playing at a pretty decent level at Toulouse. It's not.
What name would you like to have there instead?
No, not instead. Not instead. Well, we got 4 right now, so there's one spot.
And I would take Austin Trusty there. I love the athleticism of Austin Trusty. That's the Celtic center back I would take of the two. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is limited. I think he's one-dimensional. I don't find his game appealing, and I think he has yet to have a good step-up game to the national team level.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I'm giving you some grief over Mark McKenzie, who has been good at times, but also always, I don't know, leaves me a little bit cold. But it definitely Cameron Carter-Vickers is no better than that. There's no way he's better than that. We should at this point at least talk, because there's some people going to be yelling at their screen that Noah Kai Banks should be considered. I think there's a better case for Jackson Reagan than there is for Cameron Carter-Vickers or Walker Zimmerman. I think Jackson Reagan at some point will get that nod. I just don't think you bring either of those players, both Banks or Reagan, in for a semifinal and final of Nations League. I don't think this is the time to do that. Well, okay. Again, this goes back to what we were saying about whether or not you bring in Diego Cochin, because you bring in Diego Cochin if you want him to get the experience, and you don't think it's going to matter that he doesn't play.
This isn't an experience camp. I don't think this is a results camp. Don't you feel that way?
I
There's
do
trophy
think
on the
results. I think results matter here, but I don't think it's impossible to imagine that Pochettino. Now, it kind of, what's interesting about this conversation is whether or not Pochettino is thinking purely selfishly, meaning he's thinking about now and 2026, or if he's thinking beyond that for the program, like if he's thinking bigger picture for the program. Because if you're thinking bigger picture for the program, you can make a pretty solid argument that in order to lock Noah Kai Banks down or to get him to choose the United States, you throw him this opportunity and you say, come in and play in these Nation League or be part of our camp for these Nations League games. Maybe he gets to see what a final against Mexico is like, and he's like, okay,
yeah, he can see that. Buy a ticket.
Okay. That's cruel. I mean, I don't.
Okay. I'll put this up from the chat from Rozilla the Thriller. It says McKenzie has the most minutes played of all center backs. He's number 1. No, I think that statistic is a little bit misleading. If you take the MLS regular season, I think Reagan has as many minutes. I think there's MLS guys that have played as many minutes as Mark McKenzie, but they've been off over the last few months.
Yeah, there's the difference here is that Mark McKenzie, whatever you think of the French league, is playing in a top 5 league in Europe. That is not where Jackson Reagan is playing, as much as I might like Jackson Reagan sometimes. Right? Again, the Noah Kai Banks decision is about post 2026 because he's not even a regular. He's played a little bit.
What,
but
6
he's not even
games?
a-
6
He's
games
not
in
a
the Bundesliga.
regular.
Yeah.
Like we're not at that point, right? This is not where we are with. It's like Henry Chase all over again. Right? It does feel a little bit like that, and maybe Banks is closer to playing for the United States than Chase ever was, but there's still this issue of these are supposed to be competitive games. You should be.
But here, there's a
23.
reason. But let's just be honest. There's a reason why Nokai Banks is being talked about. The center back position is not deep for the
That's
U.S.
true.
national team.
That is
It is
true.
like it is a bunch of guys that are bit players or either bit players at good teams or consistent players at teams that are just kind of uninspiring. There's no Mesto McKinney, Christian Pulisic, or anything like that at the center back position. Tim Breen was that guy at one point, but not anymore.
Yeah.
So there is an argument.
Can I stop? Okay, so I'm going to come back up to Tim Ream, right? And I don't disagree with anything you said, but there is the question that hangs out there as to whether or not it might be better to move on from Tim Ream.
Have you seen a result that would make you feel that way in his play? Not his age, his play.
I mean, he's playing in Major League Soccer now, so it makes it a little bit
So is
more
Miles
difficult
Robinson.
No, I understand that, but we're talking about a difference in age. Tim Ream is playing at an elevated age in a lesser league than he was playing in before with the Premier League. So I do think it's fair enough to look at him and go, okay, is he the same? Like, I don't know. There's a difference between should he be in the team and should he be a locked-in starter. I understand those are different questions, and I still appreciate his leadership. And I guess you've already made the point that the reason Noah Kai Banks is even in this conversation is because we're not deep enough at center back to make it not a part of the conversation.
And I don't know that Tim Ream's a starter. I really don't. That's for Pochettino to decide based on camps, But I think he hasn't done anything to take him out of the running for the conversation of being on the team. He's also a leader on the team.
Okay. I think we can move on. I'm going to strike Noah Kai Banks because I don't even like the notion of calling a guy up if you don't think he might play for you. I think every player in a 23-man roster, when you have competitive matches, should be a player you would trust to play if needed. Or you have to go as far down that list as you can before you're like, nope. And Noah Kai Banks, at 18 years old, with the limited appearances he has, cannot be a guy you're going to be trusting. I don't care if it's Panama or not. And obviously, you think it might be Mexico or Canada in the next round. Okay?
Yeah.
So again, the issue is Tim Ream blocking somebody if he's in this team? And I don't think he's blocking anybody, unless you argue that's Reagan. Unless that's your argument.
And I think there's a fair argument made there. This is a defender of the year in MLS. Like one of the best defenses in the league.
Sure.
The guy was a rock star last year.
Do you
it was
hold
good.
anything?
It was good enough for Walker Zimmerman to get into the team.
Yes, it
those
was.
same
It
credentials.
was. Yeah. By the way, I'm just looking. Do you hold anything against Jackson Reagan?
Because he looks like a
years old.
bootleg Colin Hanks.
No, because he's 26 years old. Because it's a little late for his national team career to get off the ground.
No, especially
Okay,
not a center back. I
Just
mean,
throwing it out there.
what
Just
I
throwing
think
it out
Jimmy
there.
Conrad probably made his first appearance at 26.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
These guys went to
That's
college. Eddie Pope
that-
probably did that.
Different era. We judge players
Sure.
differently now in 2025.
But I think it's
than we
different for the
did.
center back position too. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, I mean, Clint Dempsey probably was making his first appearance at 24. Something like
Yeah.
that coming out of college.
Again, I'm just saying. those are
It's the
different eras.
player. I don't want to judge him on a stereotype. I want to judge him on what does he do, how good is he, and even Pochettino has said that's his criteria as well. He doesn't care where you're playing.
Here's another example: Jada Merritt. Again, different era, but came into the team later.
And I think
because
center
of the
backs
way-
get more leeway in that.
All right, so we've got 5 center backs. You need to give me 7 midfielders that we
Yeah,
agree
and
on.
I think for the most part, I think we're going to agree on these. There's one maybe we'll differ. Weston McKinney's a lock.
Yep, of course.
You don't have to write the whole name, right? Okay.
I
but-
can do. Okay, what do you want me to say?
I'm just trying to make it easier on you.
We need bigger. We need nicknames. All right, he's Big
Whatever
West.
they-
Let's go.
I think Yunus Musa,
Okay.
Tyler Adams.
Yunus.
Give me the MMA basically,
All right, Tyler. Yep.
and then it becomes a conversation. But I still don't think it's too much of one. I think Gio Reyna still makes this team.
I agree.
Is
I can't see him missing this.
The
team. No.
midfielders that we're going to talk about right here, none of them are very dynamic. In terms of creativity. Even though
Well,
Wes
not with-
McKinney's paying the 10 for Juventus,
Right.
not really.
Not with Malik Tillman out, and although he's never really impressed all that much with the national team anyway. But with Malik Tillman out, there's just a black hole there for creativity. I would rather have Gio Reyna, even rusty, even not in great form, even frustrated by Dortmund, than not have somebody like that.
We should shout out this player because he's having a very good season, and not a lot of people are talking about him. Brendan Aronson is having a good season with Leeds right now.
Oh yeah, no, he is, and Brendan's in this
I
team.
think that's a change of pace midfielder. You know,
he's in the team. There's no argument.
And then the last two for me, and this may be too defensive, but I'm going to go with both of these. I'm going to go with Johnny Cardoso because you want that replacement for Tyler Adams if you need it.
100%.
And I would take Aiden Morris too because I just think he is so good when he's shown for the national team. But coming off injury, right?
Yeah, well, yes, to an extent, but Aiden Morris is also out of all these guys. So Wes, we know he can do a lot of things. He's an all-around player, very good, has played at the 10 at Juve, right? It says a lot about his abilities. We know that Eunice is limited with his passing. Right? He can do a lot of things. He's defensively pretty sound these days. But advance the ball with his feet, but not at his feet, but not passing the ball. Tyler, we know exactly what his game is. You know, he may spring a pass every now and then that surprises you, but he's a defensive midfielder. Gio is an attacking player who doesn't defend much. Brendan Aronson is a presser who can, get on the end of some things and cause some havoc, but I'm not even sure he's great.
Late run to the box.
Johnny Cardoso is a defensive midfielder 100%, although he did score a goal last weekend for Betis in a win over Real Madrid, worth mentioning. Aiden Morris is a better passer. He might be the third best passer in this group.
I would agree. I think there's Gio, there's Weston, and then there's Aiden Morris.
Yeah, that's probably right. That's right. And it's a gap. I'm not
saying
he's
good at filling the gap. He's good at filling the passing lanes too. He's good at anticipating the pressing lanes and winning balls in the midfield. I like him a lot. I think let's talk about two players that you could make the case for. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a good shout from JTT, Jonathan Taylor Tannenwald, who I should play his drop.
OMFBG13, it's JTT!
Presuming everybody could hear that properly. But playing the local card again, have we not seen enough by now that Brendan Aronson's pressing is an asset against Concacaf teams in particular? Yeah. Right? You play the game you're in, and I think Brendan Aronson has a role to play in these games.
Not just in Concacaf. That's the trend in world football right now.
Right. But he comes on. A lot of times he comes on. If he's not starting a game, he comes on and he's almost a lone presser. A lot of times. By the time he's coming on, you're basically saying, like, everybody else is gassed. Maybe we've pressed a little bit in areas. Maybe we use triggers. We're trying to pin opponents to the sideline and things like that, to the touchline. But Brendan Aronson is a one-man pressing machine who can cause havoc and create problems. And at the very least, force defenders and players, when the opponent has the ball, they have to think about what they're doing because Brendan Aronson is buzzing around being Brendan Aronson. So I think that's an asset for this team. All right, who else did you want to mention?
I think there's two that we should mention. I think some people would take Tanner Tessman in this. For me, I think Aiden Morris is a better midfielder.
I like Aiden Morris. I like Aiden Morris more.
But I also think the one that you have a legitimate. When you look up and down this roster, this midfield roster that we put together right now, and you see what's missing, Gio Reyna is the only creative midfielder in this group. You could make the case that a Diego Luna needs to be included in this as a change of pace sub into games. You're trailing, but I don't know that you can take both Gio and Diego Luna here.
You lose too much defensively for that. And
here's the thing: you could, if you end up taking Gio as one of the forwards, because the forward pool's thin. The forward pool's thin. So maybe you bring Gio as one of the forwards and you slot Diego Luna in and get that spot in the midfielders. But we can get to that as we start outlaying the forward.
Unfortunately, and my apologies to all of our listeners, that the sound drop of Mauricio Pochettino complimenting Diego Luna and his anatomy has not loaded. It's not working for me. So I don't have it. My apologies for that.
Big boy.
Damn, dog, that's an approach.
It's the best I can do in this situation. I agree. I know January was a nice moment for Diego. I'm glad he had that moment, getting his nose busted, making the pass, creating the opportunities, and doing the things he did. I still think that Pochettino is not there yet on Diego Luna. Not with the group that he's got here.
Yeah.
I think these guys are all ahead of him. All right, so that leads us to forwards, and we've got 5 open spots right now for forwards.
Yeah, and this is a crapshoot. I mean, if we're going to take 5 here, let's just go through the start. Christian Pulisic, chalk. Weah, chalk. Sargent, chalk.
Sargent is current chalk, but
Current
that's
chalk.
partly because of what's going on with the rest of the
No
striker
Pepe,
pool.
no
Pepe's out.
Balogun. Now,
Balogun coming
then
back healthy, but it's too soon. It's entirely too soon.
he
for
may make an
Fowler
appearance
Balogun.
this weekend. I'm not sure yet the rest of him. His injury was a shoulder, right?
Yes, I believe he had a
So
serious
it's
shoulder
not
injury,
like
yeah.
it's not. He's come back from an ACL, hamstrings, something like that. Like you may be able to play him quickly.
Man, I don't know.
It's a
Have you
shoulder
ever-
injury.
Shoulder injuries are a bitch. Like the pain.
Yeah, but
that
I was
you
saying
deal with-
nothing has stopped him from staying fit.
No, I don't. But I don't think that's true. Like I think you're misreading what a shoulder injury does for even running is painful when
The
you have
dude
a
can sit
shoulder
on a
injury.
cycle and go.
I think okay, but that's not game fitness. That's not match fitness.
Fair.
And I think there is a big step between this and which I also like the idea that this opens the door. Balogun not being ready opens the door for somebody else who I think we're excited about. But again, it's based on January events, which
Well,
I think we
let
can
me
get
say
to.
something that no woman on earth has ever said.
Yeah.
Josh Sargent excites me.
He's got a wife and kids, okay? Let's
Prove it. Prove it.
He went
Show me a
super
picture.
cold. Listen, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I think, he went super cold and couldn't score and was playing terribly. And then I found out he had just had a kid. I was like, oh, the man's not sleeping. That's why he's terrible right now. He's got a newborn. He's not sleeping. And I was like, it occurred to me that we forget about these
Just
life
because
things.
He has a wife doesn't mean that the words have ever been said.
All right, that's that.
But I
think
am
you're-
excited for Josh Sargent because
I
he
can't
has been
prove
so often delayed in his return to the national team that I'm excited to see a camp where he's not really getting pushed. It's his
think-
job for these 2 games.
He is a good player, and I
For
don't
sure.
think that's a controversial. It shouldn't be a controversial statement, but of course, as national team fans, and I've seen this from the fan base, because it's been so long since he's scored for the national team, he gets written off as if he's not a good player. And I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Like that, you are cutting off your nose to spite your face if you have given up on Josh.
No, you don't
Sargent.
score the goals he's scoring in the championship and not be a good player.
He's
Is
a
he
good
top scorer
player.
in the championship right now? Probably not, right? Because he was out for too long for injury.
Yeah, I think he's but I think he's pushing the Norwich top scorer list.
it might be goals per minute. He may be doing well though.
Yeah, he's got one of those records where it's like, he's got
Or goal contributions per minute. But yeah, so I would think those are the 3 that are chalk. After that, it becomes a little bit of a toss up. We got 2 spots left.
11 goals, by the way, 11 goals in 21 matches in the championship is what I'm seeing for Josh Sargent. Puts him second on the team, and he's played 9 fewer matches than the guy who's leading Norwich right now. But go ahead. Sorry.
I would take. So here's the thing: you need another central forward. You got to take one more central forward.
Yeah.
So for
Who's that?
me, it comes down to either Brandon Vasquez or Patrick Agyemang. I would take Patrick Agyemang.
Yeah,
He had a good camp. I think Pochettino liked him in that camp. Brandon Vasquez is more established, but he's also out of form. He's in between seasons.
Agyemang is more dynamic than Brandon Vasquez is.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that matters for this group.
And I think late game sub, that running, that athleticism. I think when players are tired and he wants to run at people,
he's going to be a better presser from the front. He's going to be better running off the back shoulder. He's going to be. We saw the ball that he latched on.
But if you need to kill a game at striker, Brandon Vasquez is your guy.
Brian White. I'm getting that mixed up. Brian White should be mentioned, by the way.
He should be in this list. Yeah,
he should be in the conversation. I don't think he's in the team, but I think he's in the conversation.
I think, if you were protecting a lead, you'd rather have Brandon Vasquez, though.
What? Just because you're going to get the ball
hold
up
up
to him
play? Yeah.
Yeah, but do you think that he's so miles above Agyemang at this point? Like I never see enough.
He's done more in his career. We could say that.
Yeah, but I think Brandon Vasquez is limited. I'm not going to go as far as our man Nicky Soup and Salad, who thinks he's a donkey, but I don't know that he's got anything I'm looking for in the national team. Right? He's not. He doesn't. I don't know. There's something missing there for me. Right? He's just he's a little bit short. He's not Brian McBride, right? If you're going to think about a prototypical U.S. men's national team forward who played the role that way, I'm thinking Brian McBride or Josie Altidore even. But Josie Altidore much better passer. Abby Wambach, sure. But Abby Womack won everything in the air.
Yeah.
That's Brandon Vasquez is going to win you once every 10 balls. He's going to win in the air, and maybe he'll score.
I'll say that Josie Alger was probably the best back to goal striker we've had.
That's why I mentioned him. That's why I mentioned, and maybe one of the best passers from the forward position we've ever had in this team.
I think the other two are better finishers and better in the air. But I think Josie had a lot of qualities in that. So for here, I'm not mad at a person that takes Brandon Vasquez. I'm not mad at a person that takes Ajamang, but I'm going to take Ajamang.
All right,
that leaves one spot. So here's the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation for me is: do you want Diego Luna in this team, or do you want Alex Zendejas, which may be the hottest player in the American
North
pool
America
right now? Yeah, in North America.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the choice to me, because do you move Gio Reyna into this position? You take Diego Luna as a midfielder, or do you bring Alex Zendejas, who has the hot hand? He's on fire for America.
Yeah, I think.
And you could potentially play Mexico in the last game. He knows those players.
Yeah. I don't know that that's a huge thing. I think, it's nice to imagine that that's going to give him some sort of advantage. I've never come away from an Alex Zendejas U.S. men's national team performance going, oh, yeah, wow, I see it. Like, it's going to click. It's going to work.
Fair. But also, I don't think they play a system that is catered to Alex Zendejas.
That's fair. That's fair. And I'll
or at
say
least
this
Berhalter
about,
didn't.
I did get that from Diego Luna, but it was in a January camp where the quality of the opposition was extremely questionable. Like, I'm so glad Diego Luna got that moment, as I said. And I mean, not the broken nose, but just having
all
that
balls,
chance to
no
shine.
nose.
But I think you have to go with the more accomplished player here, and I think that's Alex Zendejas. Like, I think it's just kind of obvious. I would love for it to be more complicated, but I don't think it is. I think.
Well, let's talk about this too. By bringing Zendejas, you bring in a true outside forward, right?
Yeah, but a guy that wants to drift in and do a bunch of stuff.
But he wants to be playing on the outside. That affords you the luxury is that when we look back at the fullbacks here, and you look at Joe Scally and you look at Marlon Fossey, is Tim Weah not a better right back in the Serie A than either of those two players? And you don't now have. I think Weah is a forward for the U.S. national team. Well, but you have to respect the fact that late in the game you can move Weah back to right back and bring Zendejas in and have both
if you want to. If Weah hasn't run himself in the ground starting on the right, which he does sometimes, like he sometimes gets pulled because he's gassed, so that you wouldn't have anything in the tank to move him to right back and put Zendejas in. But I do see your logic, and I don't think that Tim Weah is a better defender than anybody in the fullback list, but he is a better player going forward, and he's not a disaster at the back. He's not a disaster defending. He, leaving space in behind is something, but then again, you're asking Tyler Adams or a center back to cover that space, and then Tyler Adams to drop in between the center back, whatever it might be, right? You're trying to use a system to cover for what
I
you're
think maybe
asking
you could see Weah right back in the Panama game. I don't think you see it in the Mexico game. I mean, do you want Chucky Lozano going up against Joe Scally or Timothy Weah? Probably Joe Scally.
Yeah, I mean, there are trade-offs. Is Joe Scally giving you anything going forward? Not much. Is he giving you anything on the ball? We've seen him turn the ball over from his position, get caught in possession, and cause problems with that. So you're not only are you saying Joe Scally doesn't get forward to give you real danger the way a Jedi Robinson would on the other side, or a Serginho Dest, who, by the way, is coming back but wasn't on the 60-man roster and won't be in this team. But I do think that if he was healthy, he would be in this group.
Yeah, may make his return this weekend.
Right. You're not getting what you're getting from Joe Scally is stay-at-home defending, right? And he's not speedy, he's not great on the ball, and he's not great with a cross. So but if you put Tim Weah there, then Tim Weah is going to want to bomb forward. He's going to want to get involved, and then you're leaving gaps in behind. And again, if you have a plan for covering those gaps, or you're not leaving massive space between your lines because Tyler Adams is having to flare out wide into that space, okay, let's figure it out. And again, against Panama, it'll be a different challenge than against Mexico. That's it, right?
Okay,
we agree on that.
So we're saying Diego Luna is not bringing Alex Zendejas instead.
No, I don't know if our man Colin Reese is being sarcastic, with this? Jason, why
Oh, I
can't
don't
you
think
tell
so.
that Diego Luna is more skilled than almost all of our players on the team?
He's not. That statement is not inherently untrue. He's also more undisciplined than most players on the team.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
Gio Reyna is probably still better than him from a creativity standpoint. But where does Diego Luna play in the 4-3-3 Pochettino
Right.
system with these players?
That, and then we get into a question of form and whether how much does form matter?
Because I don't know that Gio Reyna starts in this team. I think MMA is strong right now.
MMA looks like a good option, but again, you're asking Wes to do all of the creative work by himself in that scenario. Again, Musa can do things that are attacking in nature, but we've seen it. Like the way he's used at Milan, how often do you see Yunus Musa do anything that is sort of aggressively attacking or involved attacking? He is an option to keep cycling the ball, and he's a defensive stalwart at his position. He is stable, right? He's I hate to say this because I love him as a player. He's unsexy. Like the way he plays that position is unsexy.
Yeah.
And again, maybe in CONCACAF it's different pushing the ball forward, driving at defenders than it is in
So if
Serie
your
A.
3-man midfield is Wes, Tyler, and Gio,
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I think that's perfectly fine. But let's not act like Gio's getting 90 minutes a game. You're probably committing to subbing him at the 60-minute mark, but that may be enough. It may be enough to get 60 minutes at a Gio.
Yeah. So again, we're not picking necessarily our starting lineup for either one of these games.
No, not necessarily.
I think it picks itself on some level, right? It's Matt Turner in goal, but Schulte pushing. It's Jedi and Scally at the fullback spots.
Center back's a little bit of a toss-up.
I think
Tim
Richards
Ream
must start.
and Chris Richards. You think what?
Tim Ream? I think Chris Richards is in the line. I think Chris Richards starts.
And I think
Right.
potentially Tim Ream, depending on how he looks from a fitness standpoint in camp.
Yeah, I think Pochettino trusts him, which I think is a big thing. And he's good with the ball.
Here's the thing. In the Mexico game, who do you want going up against Santi Jimenez? That's a real question.
I think that's Chris Richards' job. I think it
Okay.
is. I think Santi Jimenez is very good. He hasn't quite caught fire at Milan. Well, nobody's catching fire at Milan right now.
Yeah,
It's a disaster. It's a death spiral at Milan.
yeah. I blame João Felix. He's poison.
You know how bad Milan is right now? They're so bad their former manager got banned for 9 months in France. That's how bad Milan is.
I saw that. Get in the referee's face.
Yeah.
I honestly think they never should have got rid of Pioli. Never should have.
But that's the thing. They're not going to sit on their hands and wait around for somebody to get it. You got to be exactly right. You have to be perfect. By the way, it's not going well for Thiago Motta either. Like as much as I'm thrilled that Tim and Weston are getting starts all the time, it's not like Juve's burning up the charts. They got knocked out of the Champions League by a team that just got smoked by Arsenal by a football score.
Yeah.
So what are we talking? Yeah, it's not right now.
Not good times for
Inter,
Serie A.
outside of Inter, everybody is kind of trash at the moment. So there is that. We have a little bit of time left, and we can talk about other things.
Okay.
So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about your team and how they've started so strongly and their defense of their time? And last night, man, what the hell? What's going on?
Well, I'm not gonna act like I watched last night's game. I don't have any of the services that it was on.
I did. I took a peek. I took a peek or two.
How'd you get it? What, Fox Sports 2? What do you have? Fubo?
Yeah,
what do you have?
Yeah, you can stream it on. No. Actually, I believe that was the game that was on Concacaf on YouTube. Concacaf channel on YouTube.
I thought I heard it was one of the other ones, so I didn't. I didn't get to watch it.
Marco Royce, looking more like he was some undercover assassin on assignment in Costa Rica, looking for bad guys than a soccer player enjoying himself playing in.
It's rough.
Humidity.
There were players on that lineup that I didn't know who they were. That's how bad the injury concerns are right now.
Elijah got his pocket picked, and that proved to be the difference. You can't get caught in possession 25 yards from your own goal.
Yeah, I mean, the Galaxy is extremely snake bit right now. I mean, this is the price I guess they're paying for the push last season to get the cup. You're out Puig, you're out Painsil, you're out Sanabria, the gentleman you just brought into the team. Mickey Yamane goes down. It's really, really rough in LA right now. And I don't know what Benny's doing with the McCarthy versus Mitrovic. I don't know why there's a goalkeeper controversy. The keeper that just won you the cup, and why keep him around if you're not going to use him? Sell him. You could have kept a Delgado, or maybe you could have kept someone else, with that salary. I don't. It's really, really odd. But I think unfortunately the Galaxy is saddled with Royce and with the Diego Fagundes deals. And it's tough times right now. I don't see, they may be so far back that by the time Puig gets back, it may not matter.
Puig has got a ways to go, though. Right?
They look totally inept on offense. They're not leaking goals. It's like 1 goal a game, 2, and another one. Like, they're not terribly defensively. They're not terrible, but offensively, there's no creativity there.
Yeah. Let me pull in a comment just because we did talk national team and we moved on, but Dirk is asking about Damian Downs. Just think it's too early for Damian Downs.
Yeah.
And the club he's playing for and the levels. And look, Ajimong is not so clearly ahead of everybody else that you wouldn't at least bring in the conversation. But Pochettino knows him, and I think that matters. And I think his showing in the January camp matters, even if it's not the biggest test. It matters because he's been in the group.
And he'll get his chance. Like, these guys will get their chance. It's just not going to be Banks will get his chance. It's just not going to be when there's a trophy on the line. Nor should it be.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. And again, I know the dual national thing gets everybody really worked up, and we're like, oh, you got to get locked down the dual national. But you shouldn't be doing predatory caps. I don't think Pochettino wants to lock a guy. And, just because you come into camp, it doesn't mean that you're locked in and you're cap tied. But it just, why even do that if you don't think he's a player for you now? Like, I'm very keen on the idea that Pochettino is turning the U.S. men's national team back into a program that picks the best 23 players to win the games that are on the schedule, period. Instead of doing this dance of like, well, but that guy's one for the future and he can get a look. No, pick the best 23 players. If those guys want to show up, they want to play for the national team, when they get their stuff together and they're pushing people that are already in the group, they'll get called. It'll take care of itself. And that's all.
Yeah, to go back to the Concacaf Champions League, I think there's only 2 MLS teams that even look good in this competition, and that's LAFC and Miami. Seattle ties at home. Vancouver ties at home. This is where MLS teams have to do it. They're not really going to go down to Mexico, and at least not on a regular basis. You're not betting on these teams to go away to Mexico and get results.
Right. Yeah, no.
The Galaxy's coming back 1 down, back to home, but this Galaxy team, I can't believe in that. At this point,
no. Well, okay, I think it's possible.
Cincinnati drew at home,
so. Yeah, well, the test for the Galaxy was decidedly different than the test for the teams that had Mexican opponents.
Yes, Eredino.
But this is the movie we have seen so many times. We can predict the way this plays out. Seattle fails to score against Cruz Azul, a Cruz Azul team that was missing 4 starters, 4 usual players from their lineup. They don't score. They have to now go to Mexico City chasing something, or at least Cruz Azul 1 goal wins it for Cruz Azul, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's still, but the away goals tiebreaker is still something that Concacaf
which puts Vancouver in an even worse situation because they did give one up to Monterrey.
They did give one up. I mean, and they were not late. Let's be fair.
As did Cincinnati.
To Vancouver, not to Seattle, not to the Whitecaps, or not to Seattle rather, and Cincinnati, but to Vancouver. They were never favorites against Monterrey. Never. No,
I think Vancouver is sleepy better than I thought they were going to be this year.
They are going to be decent in the league, but they were not favorites. And
I didn't pick them as a playoff team.
Lefty is saying that they missed a ton of chances, right? And Gold had himself a day and had the assist on the goal, despite the fact they weren't able to put more in the back of the net. And maybe there's something there for their new manager to figure out, and maybe he will put something crazy on the field in Monterrey. I don't think they're
Jaden Nelson looks legit though, dude. I got to watch him against the Galaxy over the weekend. That kid is impressive, dude. He really reminds me of a Tejan Buchanan. He's just has no fear, willing to take players on. He's very confident right now. I'm very, very impressed with him. Wish he was
Cincinnati
American.
Has got to be kicking themselves. And again, why do MLS teams struggle to figure out how to score goals in their home leg against the Mexican side? Cincinnati needed 3 to go back to Monterrey against Tigres in order to win this time.
LAFC did it, and they only had like 2 fans in their stadium.
But LAFC did it against MLS opponent. Like the thing about this is I don't think it's I don't know if it's mental. And it doesn't make sense to me that a very international squad, which most MLS teams are now, would struggle to figure out how to beat Mexican team. I don't know. There's something wrong though, because MLS keeps doing this. And the question is, Jared, do you think that the talent gap is so big that this really is just about Mexico being better? The top teams in Mexico.
I think it's part of his confidence and swagger. I really do think that is part of it. I think there's a stigma to it as well. I don't know. I wish I knew.
This year. No MLS champion this year, right? That ship already sailed? Is it gone?
I think LAFC has a chance. I think Miami has a chance.
But who's their matchup in the next phase? This is always the question. I don't know.
I don't have the bracket in front of me. I'm not sure.
So LAFC would get the winner of Miami and Cavalier. So it's possible
they have to go through each other.
Miami is up 1-0.
That's unfortunate because
now.
I think that's the two teams that have the most opportunity to do something, and they're going to go through each other. By the way,
you mentioned Jaden Nelson left the game last night after 5 minutes. Had a great start to the MLS season, but
I didn't know that.
Dealing with an injury, thanks to our man Nicholas Murray. LAFC wouldn't have to face a Mexican opponent until the semifinal, and that would end up being either Monterrey or Tigres, depending on how that goes. Or Pumas, sorry, Monterrey or Pumas. Because if you think Monterrey is getting past Vancouver, which I think we all do, it'd be Monterrey or Pumas. Not easy. On the other side of things, Seattle, who is the only MLS team to win it in the modern era and all that stuff, right, is 0-0 against Cruz Azul, wasted their chance at home. It's going to really have a challenge. But let's imagine.
Yeah, the weird thing is that's a Seattle result. It's a defensive result. Yeah. They'll probably go to penalties at Cruz Azul.
I mean, they might. But let's imagine they get past Cruz Azul. Let's imagine they do. Do you know who they get in the next round if they beat Cruz Azul? They get the winner of Chivas Club America. That's who they get.
Good luck.
So, good luck there. And then let's say they get past Chivas or Club America. Chivas is up 1-0 from the first leg in that tie between the two rivals in Mexico. Cincinnati has Tigres. Now, Cincinnati beats Tigres. This changes everything. But if Tigres gets past Cincinnati, they get the winner of Herediano and the Galaxy. And right now, either one of those teams is probably red meat for Tigres. So then Seattle would have to play Tigres in a semifinal. If Seattle gets past Cruz Azul and either Chivas or Club America, they would then get Tigres. That is a gauntlet. That is impossible to imagine any MLS team doing. Which, look, if they did it, incredible. But again, the problem here, and I know we've said it a billion times before, and we will continue to say it because it remains true. The schedule is a bitch for MLS teams in this competition. Yeah. It just is. It's the worst. You can't go toe-to-toe with the Mexican clubs. This is why the Leagues Cup exists, and I know they changed the format this year.
But this is also one more reason why we should rethink, and I'm not going to say this because I'm a Galaxy fan. This is true for any future MLS champion. You've got to change the way these salary cap rules work because you want the championship of your team to be good in this tournament.
But this is
it comes right on the heels of it.
No, I know, but this is the tension Major League Soccer has. Yes, they want their teams, and there is some extra gam for the teams that qualify for the Champions League that exists. That's a thing, and now we can go look at the gam numbers and all that stuff. But MLS also wants to maintain parity. They want everybody to have a chance.
At some point, are you tired of being the freaking dog that gets kicked all the time? Though that's what MLS is in this region.
But why does that matter? Yeah, I do think they care.
If not, why are we doing these competitions? Why are we doing Leagues Cup?
Because Leagues Cup is a way to challenge yourself against Mexican teams during the middle of your season when your teams are
in a competition that doesn't matter.
I understand that, but this is how MLS thinks.
The winner of this goes to Club World Cup and play for $1 billion.
Well, yes, I understand that, but the way MLS thinks isn't, hey, let's attack this thing that already exists, by the way, that we don't control the rights to, or we don't have any say over. Let's go and do our own thing and create our own competition and throw it into the and again, yes, as Jonathan Tannenwald says, Leagues Cup is to make money, but Leagues Cup is also this thing that MLS is doing to try to find a way to prove itself or show better against Mexican clubs when in the Champions Cup or formerly Champions League, they constantly run into that issue of timing, the timing of it.
Yeah, but here's the thing about this, as Jonathan and Nicholas saying in the chat, that the league comes away from us to make money. Why do I care about that as a fan? This is where MLS is, but MLS is where MLS is tone deaf. No one cares about this.
You say
no one cares.
You say no one, but that's not how the league thinks because you're already there. And I'm not saying they take you for granted necessarily.
I'm not going to buy a ticket to this damn thing.
I understand that, but there are plenty of people who are there to
Not
support
enough.
the Mexican club.
I think you're going to see less and less attendance of this and ratings for this every year.
Maybe that's true. MLS has always taken sandbox mentality to the way that they do things. And it's been, they'll do things like this, but of course, as you've talked about, they won't change the budget rules. Budget rules are changing, though. I mean, obviously, cash for trades is now out there.
Quick enough for me.
I mean, no, I think a lot of people have that mentality. Like MLS has been slow to make the changes necessary to be competitive in things like the Champions Cup. But again, look at the way look at the success MLS has had. They have 30 teams. Garber just said in San Diego at the opener for San Diego FC that, hey, why not 32? Why not continue to grow? They're not going to shut the door on expansion. And I did a video for Morning Kick Around. By the way, support Morning Kick Around. Nicholas Murray is a big supporter of Morning Kick Around. Thank you very much. I know, Jared, you feel like I'm cheating on you, but I got to fill my day.
I'm hotter.
So I'm doing. You do have Reagan hair, or whatever that's called.
No, it's the Gates, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
We did. You said
Dude has to write a
Republican
check
hair,
to
and
get laid.
I think Reagan when I think Republican, so I don't know why. But
Not anymore.
We did a video on Morning Kick Around with this question of how big should the league grow after Garber made his comments, and there were people who were legitimately like 40. They should go to 40, or they should go to 60. Like for me that sounds insane, but there are plenty of American soccer fans who are like, why not? Keep going.
Yeah, it comes down to the age-old question for men. Do you want to be a grower or do you want to be a shower? Do you want to grow this league naturally,
No.
or do you want to spend money and be a shower?
Give me a sec. You have to give me. You have to. It's perfect. It's perfect. I'll give you credit. That is perfect. That metaphor right there.
You're free to use it, but you have to pay me rights.
All right. Yeah. Explain it again. Just because
do you want to grow the league naturally, methodically, patiently, from a grassroots kind of style? Or do you want to put the money in that's going to allow you to show this league off? And so, for example, I'll use the Galaxy again because it's fresh. Can you imagine? Let's assume Ricky Puig not getting hurt. We have to throw some hyperbole out here. Okay,
now that's some hair. That's some good hair.
That's some good hair.
Let's
imagine Ricky Puig doesn't get hurt. The league, the way this league is set up, has denied Concacaf from seeing that ball that was being played last year, which was some of the best football that's ever been played in this league. The way that team, the offense that was there.
Sure.
We have denied the ability to show that off what won MLS last year in the Champions League.
You definitely don't sound like a biased Galaxy fan right now.
I'm sorry.
You definitely don't.
LAFC as well. I mean, if they were to win it, I'd say the same thing. Every year we are making it hard to show off what won the league the year before. We shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be holding back our ability to show what this league can be. Instead, we're going to create all these artificial tournaments to generate money rather than doing the things that happen naturally in world football, which is you win your league, you go on and you try to show off your league the best way possible under the Champions League format. And now for some reason the World Cup, the Club World Cup format.
I know that you're not thinking about this, but I just have to point out. Right. Again, I mentioned that they care about parity. Right. Maybe they care about parity to a fault. Maybe they. But that's because you're an LA sports fan. The idea of parity means holding back your team.
What did the Dodgers ever do to anybody?
Spend a ton of money and defer contracts and win a World Series by doing it. Thanks, Todd.
But what have they done since then? Nothing.
Well, yeah, they haven't bought up everybody else. No, that's the thing, right? Like. It's easy for you to
but
say.
I understand that in baseball because that team doesn't go on to anything else. It's a revolving circle of just a league.
But let me come back to this because you're actually making my point for me. Because if you said, all right, The restrictions are off. No more training wheels, right? Maybe we still have a top-end budget. Maybe it's $50 million or something stupid that we're not going to get to. Or maybe you institute a luxury tax, a la baseball, right? Which if you're over a certain number on your salaries, then you got to pay into a pot, and that gets spread out to everybody else just to make sure that other clubs aren't suffering too much. Maybe you do that. But if you take the guardrails off and you let clubs that can spend, there is a chance. I'm not saying it's going to be Scotland. I'm not saying it's going to be Spain. But there's a chance that there's going to be a group of 7, 8 clubs, maybe even fewer than that are so far above everybody else in terms of their spending that it will tilt the league in a very decided way.
I'm not saying that it's not binary. It's either all the rules or none of the rules. There's a way to do this that is attainable, But here's the thing: I applaud PSG.
So this is like a half chub. What's going on? Am I missing something?
I don't know. What's between a grower and a shower? Blower? I don't know.
No.
So I'll say I applaud a PSG, a team that wants to be greater than the league that they're in. That wants to show what French football could potentially be and spend some money
that
to do it.
Sports washing situation run by the government of Qatar, right?
The experiment is what I'm talking about, though. To say that French football is better than what you've seen, and maybe you're seeing it with Lille, Brest this season, Monaco, like in the Champions League. These French teams are performing well. Is that the legacy of PSG raising the bar in that league?
Yeah, I mean,
look at Serie A, the exact opposite.
Man, I don't know. But if Serie A could find a way to bring the money in to be just like everybody else, they'll do it in a second. And that's the thing. Like Juve would run off on their own, and they have their new stadium. There's really no reason, right? Juve shouldn't be way above everybody else in Serie A. That's their own mistakes that they have tripped over on their way to not being dominant.
I think they get up on Vlahovic too early.
Well, they spent themselves into oblivion with Ronaldo and everything else that was happening around that time, and they're still trying to dig out of that hole. But my point is, they have their own stadium. Nobody else in Italy has a stadium like what Juve does, right? And that's usually the thing that tips you over the top, right? But again, what you're kind of advocating for is, you're saying that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? It doesn't have to be no restrictions or a bunch of restrictions that keeps everybody at the same level. And I do get that. And I don't know, again, this is a single entity league that has a board of governors who make decisions collectively. This isn't like, and the Premier League has that too, but things were already established.
Come on, as long as that board of directors has Robert Kraft on it, the freaking purse is so creaky. It's so rusty to open up and spend money.
Well, I don't know if it's just Kraft. Like, I do think there are small-time owners. The problem is, and
that's a problem.
In places like Kansas City, Cliff Illig's not spending the money that
they got Mahomes.
That's not the same ownership group, but ownership group has Dallas. That's the same ownership group as Dallas. But I'm just saying, like, it's a question of how much stretch do you want from the bottom to the top. And Major League Soccer has always been conscious of we don't want a lot of stretch. How
about this from Nate in the chat? There's no problem with having 3 or 4 better teams. In the EPL, it's been one dominant team for the last 6 years, and no one complains.
But when you say nobody complains, that's because they are accustomed, they are normalized to not complaining. I talked about this a lot on the radio show. Jared, did you know I have a radio show? Were you aware of that?
Yeah, that was on YouTube. Show? You just said that earlier.
Well, I also do that. So I am a person that has a web show Monday, Wednesday, Friday called Morning Kick Around at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Please support that show. I'm trying to grow it. I also have a radio show I do every day with Eric Ronaldo. I'm not sure if you know that guy. You heard of him before?
I've been called him before.
Oh, Eric Ronaldo. And then I do this thing with you whenever you can show up. So that's where I'm at with that. Yeah. I do a bunch of things. No, but on the radio show, I talk about being a Fulham fan because I decided to adopt it. I had never done that. I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've been a soccer fan much longer than that, and I never picked a team in England because I just didn't feel the pull.
You never picked a team at all.
I finally decided I'm a fan of the U.S. men's national team and the U.S. women's national team. Thank you.
Convenient.
Very much. I picked Fulham, and I'm like, I'm a Fulham fan, and I am. I'm living and dying with Fulham every weekend. But it's so annoying to get to that place of, oh, if we finish 10th, oh, that's great. Bully. Like, no. I mean, what the hell? Like, that's not how, as an American, I'm supposed. Look, I got a flag on my shoulder right here. I'm American. I'm supposed to want to win everything, and I picked a team that's never going to win anything because the structures dictate they're never going to win anything.
Yeah, I believe
that here.
I believe
that here.
I believe in the management philosophy that your team tells you what they need, and so if your team is dropped, if you find trash in the same place all the time, your team's telling you need a trash can there. Your team will let you, it will let you know by the habits that they have. So when you see an LA and a Miami getting penalized for trying to push the roster conditions as far as they possibly can, because they're trying to satisfy the market and live up to the market that they're in, I'm not giving them excuse for doing the wrong thing. But your team is telling you what they need.
Sure. What's wrong with that sort of being not organic? That's not the right word. But what's wrong with the ecosystem kind of pushing the league to that? Because, again, it's 30 owners now. Some of them have lots of money and want to go spend lots of money. Some of them have less money and do not want to spend as much money. And if you get enough of the big owners, and as the league expands and people are paying $500 million to get in, they're going to want to spend to justify their investment. You will eventually have the votes to crack the thing open more. And look, there is an argument. I'm not making it, but there is an argument that the league has taken pretty big steps in terms of spending, in terms of allowing teams to be more aggressive. There was a time, Jared, when you and I started this show, when we started the Best Soccer Show, the league was spent, the salary budget was like $2 million.
Democracy mattered.
It was no, don't get me started. It was $2.5 million or something. There were no DPs, or there were barely DPs. It was a couple of years after DPs. It was like, there was no GAM, no TAM, no ham, no jam, none of that stuff. There was no way to spend more than on a couple players. And it was David Beckham and Robbie Keane. And then it was guys like, Mike McGee, who I love, but probably never made more than $150K in his career or whatever that was. He was an MVP.
How do you afford an alcohol brand then?
I mean, I don't know. I think he's married into money. He might have got paid a little bit more than that. But but think about those teams. Think about that 2014 Galaxy team or whatever it was.
All the time.
You dream of that.
You want to talk about growing or showing?
That's what I'm saying. That's when the chub shows up. No, but think about the team and the guys on that team. How many guys on that team were clock-in checks 6 figures? Very few of those guys. Yeah. And that's just a little bit more than 10 years ago. We are impatient, and I think we have a right to be somewhat impatient as we watch the world change.
It pushes the league forward.
That's right. Well, we're going to keep yelling about it. That's what I know.
I am, as long as my team keeps putting zeros in the win column.
Yeah, this is probably true, by the way. Mike McGee got a bonus for playing emergency goalkeeper.
He probably got a bonus for being MVP of the league.
Yeah, I remember. I was in Kansas City for MLS Cup Final 2013.
Humble brag.
That was I'm going to tell you how humble this brag is. I was there because somebody paid for my airfare. I didn't have the cash. Somebody hooked me up. A benevolent figure in American soccer.
Only the best will do.
To travel to that game. And I was at the Kansas City offices, which were in downtown Kansas City, the Sporting Kansas City offices. They were not by the stadium. They were in downtown Kansas City. And it was, I'm not kidding you, 3 degrees outside.
Yeah.
3 degrees. And they had flown Mike McGee in to accept his MVP award. And he comes in, and I was like, man, they flew you to Kansas in 3-degree weather. They flew you out for this, and you have to be here? What? Don't you want to be in wait, he had already gotten traded to Chicago at that point? Is that the deal?
Well, he won the MVP in Chicago.
But he was the Galaxy player to start the season. He wasn't a Chicago player to start the season. Yes. Okay. I think this is right. Somebody help me out with the memory here, but yeah, I think that's right. I think he started because this was the Robbie. This was the trade. Who am I thinking of? Robbie Rogers, the Robbie Rogers situation that ended up with Mike McGee leaving to make room for Robbie Rogers.
Only to come back and win again.
I don't know. What a day. What a day that was. Yeah. Why don't we have any Sneaky Fox? Why do we never get any of that?
I like alcohol.
But
wait, is it vodka?
I think it's vodka. You're not a vodka man? Not a vodka?
I drink my high news that has vodka.
Oh, it's vodka. Yeah, I'm just drinking.
That's not the only vodka I drink, though.
I'm just drinking a straight up beer. Regular old beer. I'm just that guy now.
Remember when we almost got a beer sponsorship?
Man, I remember when I almost got a lot of things. And I remember we almost got a lot of things. And I remember how you Yeah, I wish this show should have been.
Remember
the
when
show.
one time we did
But
get a
one
sponsorship
time-
for underwear and had to act like I wore underwear to sell it?
Oh, that's a great story. We were doing, what was it?
Mac Weldon?
They're still out there selling
Yeah.
their stuff on podcasts. Yeah, we got a Mac Weldon
We
sponsorship.
got underwear sponsorship, and I don't even wear underwear.
Jared doesn't wear underwear.
It's like getting a cheese sponsorship.
So good.
Jay Rodius.
Two things we know about Jared.
I
No
love the way
underwear
it's snug and makes me feel suffocated on my ball sack.
and no cheese. No underwear, no cheese. You know what I should do? Maybe I'll do this as a bonus. I'm gonna find that episode of Slop Culture where you told the vasectomy story. I think that was on.
Was it on that
Slop
show?
Culture. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we're up against it. We've had a good time. It's evening, and I think it's time to go. Jared, anything to tell the people before we leave here?
I think that is it, guys. We'll see you
All right.
soon.
I will tell you that we have a Patreon at patreon.com/thebestsoccershow, and I promise you that we will be producing more content over there. I have plans. Not sure if no cheese, no underwear, Jared is involved. He could be. It could happen. But right now, just want to create some things for the besties who are out there. We are also going to be making available an ad-free version of the podcast if you listen back to the podcast. And if you just want the regular podcast, I mean, please give us a like and a review or whatever it is, wherever you get your podcast. Let people know that you are supporting the Best Soccer Show. We are, and we've said it before, but I haven't said it in a while, the oldest and the best American soccer podcast, and I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
And that's not just my gray hair talking.
I think Jared didn't have gray hair when this show started. My beard was
Neither
not
did you.
like this. I don't even think I had a beard when we started this show. I became a man while we've been doing this show. That's what's happening.
On one show live.
All right. Support Morning Kick Around, please. And otherwise, have a great night. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
I think I'm starting to like Cincinnati.
We are at DEFCON 1.
Get to the chopper!
Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner. Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner.
Oh, it's incredible!
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
Damn, dog, that's an approach.
What are we doing?
The horror show.
Can I get a manager? Can I please get a manager?
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
Who asked those questions?
WNBC. WNBC.
Jay Rodius.